This next part is going to be the hardest to talk about, not because it was the hardest to write, but because it will be the hardest to keep my cool with. What am I getting so annoyed by? Well, I'll tell you. It's by these two idiots. Honestly, I've given up caring about Black Widow and Hawkeye. They were at their best in Phase 1, when we had fewer characters, so we had more time to develop them, even if they were just side characters. Now, the MCU is much bigger and we have a ton more interesting characters than these two. I stopped being invested in them after Age of Ultron because the movies kind of forgot what the point of their characters were. It's pretty hard to figure out which of the two annoys me more, but I guess I'll go with Hawkeye first. I like Hawkeye much less after seeing Endgame. I don't understand why this character would decide that after the Earth's population has been cut in half and sent into a post-apocalyptic setting, that it would be a good idea to whittle down the population even more just because they're criminals. Like, I know that you're upset that your family is dead, but that doesn't excuse your actions. As much as I hate to say it, the way Batman is portrayed in Batman vs. Superman makes more sense than Hawkeye in this film. Batman acts the way he does in that film because Zack Snyder thinks he's being intellectual by having Batman break his no-kill rule, which he is famous for. Cosmonaut Variety already did a great video on this topic, so I'll just link you to that. I think the only thing that makes me hate Endgame's version of Hawkeye even more is that the Avengers know what he's doing and are completely fine with him doing it. Yeah, we're gonna spend the whole movie trying to reverse Thanos' actions for the previous film, but who cares if Hawkeye's running around murdering people? They're just criminals, it's not like they're people. Speaking of hypocrites, let's move on to Black Widow. I hate Black Widow. Again, we're in a situation where this character was much more interesting when we had less female characters in the MCU, but now we have many more interesting ones. I don't understand why people are still so obsessed with her when we now have characters like Gamora and Nebula and Captain Marvel. Honestly, I would rather have another Captain Marvel movie than a Black Widow movie. I don't understand why I feel this way, because I legitimately liked Black Widow and Hawkeye in Earth's Mightiest Heroes. From what I remember of the show, Black Widow's arc as a mole inside Hydra, with the Avengers trying to figure out if she's on her side, as well as her finally slowly becoming a good person in that show as well, was much more interesting than her arc in the MCU, which boils down to, I'm sad because I did bad things for Russia, so now I will do bad stuff for the good guys to redeem myself. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Lieutenant Hawkeye from Fullmetal Alchemist is a much better version of this character arc. The main difference between them is that Hawkeye understands that there is no way that she can atone for the war crimes that she committed in Ishval, and that instead works towards fixing the problems with the government so that nothing like that can ever happen again. I guess the problem is that Fullmetal Alchemist was created by someone who cared about creating a female character with a good character arc and personality, instead of someone who exists to make nerdy men horny. I guess you can say that this is subjective, but the one thing that makes me angry about this character is the Vormir scene from this movie. This is the worst scene in the whole movie. Remember the scene like this from Infinity War? This scene not only knocks the Endgame version of the scene out of the park, but out of the universe. I guess that this is because I love Thanos, so that may be why the Infinity version of the scene is infinitely more powerful to me. Thanos doesn't throw away Gamora like one of his other pawns. It genuinely pains him to kill her. She's the first person that he's been able to have an emotional connection to since his species died. He shows real emotion during the scene, and it almost moved me to tears when I saw it in the theater. In Endgame, this is just a scene with two useless characters fighting over who gets to kill themselves.
I'm gonna do it! Let me die!
No, I should be the one to go. Let me!
You have kids!
You are way more attractive!
It inspires no emotion in me except satisfaction that Black Widow is finally dead. The thing that confuses me the most about the scene is that it's Hawkeye and Black Widow who go to Vormir, when it should have been Hulk and Black Widow. Their relationship may have been a horrible idea on the MCU's part, but they at least tried to establish it. Hawkeye and Black Widow haven't had any chemistry since the first Avengers, but I guess since it happened in the comics, it has to happen in the movie. For a guy who murders people because his family is dead, you sure moved on pretty fast. However, I will say that I do feel bad for Black Widow fans, mostly because Disney has decided to make a movie for her now that her character is dead in the franchise. It reminds me of how the sequel trilogy killed off Han Solo and then 2 years later decided to give him a film. It's such a callous and corporate move that it makes me feel sick. But moving on, let's take a look at the things I could talk about calmly with this film. The main thing that annoyed me after watching this film was that you never really see too much of the fallout from Thanos' plan. I understand that the good guys need to reverse this because without it we wouldn't have a movie, but we never really see why they need to reverse it, besides the fact that Spider-Man's dead. I mean, sure, we have a couple quick scenes where we see abandoned neighborhoods and memorials to where everyone is dead, but outside of that we don't really get a reason for why we need to reverse the snap. Thanos mentioned in Infinity War that it takes a while to see the effects. And Cap has even mentioned that with less humans, the planet is slowly recovering, but the heroes reversed its effects before we get the chance to see if Thanos was right. While on the subject of Thanos, one of my favorite scenes from the film that inadvertently became a meme like half of the scenes of this movie was when Thanos punched out Captain Marvel. As someone who liked the Captain Marvel movie, I was annoyed by all of the Thanos dies, Captain Marvel fan art that cropped up between Infinity War and Endgame. Captain Marvel has no reason to kill Thanos, unlike pretty much every other member of the cast. The only reason why Captain Marvel has to kill him is to prove to dumb fans that she can do it. Except she can't. Also, for those who care about this stuff, yes, the earlier version of Stark is just as annoying as Captain Marvel. Even for someone like me who's extremely sarcastic, I could say there's nothing more annoying than a character that is created to say one-liners and act like an asshole and nothing else. This is true regardless of gender. Well, I don't really have anything else to say about the movie. Now, I know that the way that this review was released makes it seem that I've been bashing the film, especially in this part. However, the MCU consists of a lot of childhood memories that I'm very fond of. I almost cried during the funeral scene from this movie. The only reason why I didn't was because I had seen Grave of the Fireflies a day or two before I saw Endgame, and I was in tears by the end of that movie. For comparison's sake, that movie is about 2 orphans slowly dying for 2 hours, so just take that with a grain of salt. And so we can get the meme out of the way, I am glad that Endgame made more money than Avatar, even if Disney had to play dirty to do it. Endgame is a movie that a lot of people have an emotional connection with because they've been watching Marvel movies for 10 years now. I've been watching and enjoying them since the first Iron Man came out, and I love watching these characters go through their own separate journeys with each iteration of the MCU. Avatar is just another environmental awareness film. Once you strip back the special effects, you have another movie that has nothing else to say except
military bad, trees good.
I didn't like it when I first saw it, and I doubt that will ever change. Because of its emotional connection to the audience, Endgame is a much better overall film, but that still doesn't change the fact that I prefer Infinity War over it. Well, now that I'm a movie reviewer, I guess I have to start using an arbitrary rating system to judge the movies I see. I guess that if I was to give an Endgame a rating, then I would give it a 7 out of 10.